If you're not a supporter on Locals, Patreon, or Rockfin, you are not going to get this in its entirety. So just remember, join the editorial board, $5 a month to go one-on-one with the most censored people on the internet on Locals, or you can do a subscription over on Rockfin, or you can support on Patreon. All three of those places get the full show. And you want the full show today, because what we're talking about is Big Con, as Steven Crowder a couple years ago or a year ago or whatever, because we did that funny satire video about it. But he was talking about Big Con being a big con, basically like it's conning you into thinking it's one thing when it's really another. And anyway, I'm just typifying it, or I guess I should say I'm labeling it big conservative media if it's like a big organization under which there are famous people, I guess, or semi-famous people, hosts working for it, instead of like an independent person who is just kind of doing their own thing. Like me, I don't consider myself big media because for obvious reasons. Okay. My internet doesn't even hold up most of the time. Okay. So I don't even need to get into that. We're going to start with the Ben and Candace rift. I think with a lot of these, Bill, it would take us a long time to try to go into all the history. We're going to assume that many of you are already aware that Candace Owens is no longer at the Daily Wire. I will say a lot of people are assuming she got fired. I have not seen anyone say specifically she got fired. She could have left on her own accord, or it could have been both. You know, Ben could have said, I'm out of here if she's not out of here. And she's like, you know what? You can't fire me. I quit. Like, I don't totally know all the details. But Ben is kind of spilling a little bit of the beans. So Megyn Kelly kind of pushes him on this, because this is all comes after Candace criticizing what's happening between Israel and Hamas, Israel, Gaza. So let's see what she says.
I'm sure that whole thing was rather unpleasant. It's now spun into a debate about whether the Daily Wire is pro-free speech. The accusation is you are until it comes to Israel. How do you respond?
We have a wide variety of positions in the Wire. Matt Walsh, obviously, where he and I wildly disagree about what America's Israel policy should be. Matt is much more isolationist. He basically believes the United States has no real interests in the Middle East, and thus the United States should not be providing material support to anyone, including the state of Israel. The Daily Wire is a publisher, not a platform. I would never call for anyone to be ousted from an actual platform, X, YouTube. Even people who are, I think, absolutely horrific human beings. I've never called for any of them.
I'm going to stop it real fast, because I do think it's a little telling when he says, I wouldn't call for someone to be ousted from a platform. If you finish that sentence, you almost want to say, but I would call for someone to be ousted from a publisher, meaning is that something he's like misspeaking about that did in fact transpire? Like I said, I mean, maybe it wasn't that he fired her, but that he was like, I'm out. It's either one or the other of us. I don't know, but I'll keep playing it. But I just do think that's a little interesting.
To be ousted. In fact, I've called for them to have their accounts restored if they've been banned. That's not the same thing when it comes to publishers. Publishers obviously have to decide what sort of things they wish to pay for the publication of. And when it comes to, hosts and publishers, parting ways, obviously there'll be a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on that.
All right, Bill.
First and foremost, when he differentiates between a publisher and a platform, he's being disingenuous, because yes, YouTube is the platform and the Daily Wire publishes content to go on YouTube, Rumble, wherever. However, Daily Wire Plus is a platform. That is the platform that they built. If it's something that you have to subscribe to and pay money to, that's a platform. Okay. So I think he's being very disingenuous with that, trying to differentiate between those two. And
I disagree, and not because I'm a fan of Ben or the Daily Wire per se, but just I think, if you support me, I'm not a platform. I'm a
you're not a platform, but you didn't create Locals. You didn't create Rumble. They created the Daily Wire Plus platform.
But that would be like someone at the New York Times who created the New York Times. You're saying they're a platform because people pay to get the New York Times. New York Times is a publisher. I think the Daily Wire is a publisher. I don't think they're a platform. I still think that what he's saying still is revealing about what they, about their how far they're willing to go on certain levels of opinion when they're selling themselves as an alternative to the
Right.
mainstream. I mean, I think there's fair criticism there, but I still think they're, like, legally speaking, I think they would be considered a publisher. That's my opinion.
I think we may just agree to disagree on that one, because the WWE is a platform, but you don't have to pay anything to see it unless you're buying a premium live event or you subscribe to Peacock. Okay, so the WWE is a platform; they're not a publisher. Okay, I just feel that if you've created YouTube is a platform, they're not a publisher. So, I think that's my thoughts as far as that goes. But it's also important to note that before this Megyn Kelly interview, Ben Shapiro did an interview with Piers Morgan, and would not speak a word about what happened. And then he goes on the Rubin Report and basically says the same thing on the Rubin Report that he said to Megyn Kelly. Now, in between the Rubin Report and the Megyn Kelly appearance, Candace put out a tweet saying, "Hey, Ben, you're going on this tour basically talking about the situation without saying anything at all. And we agreed to not talk about it at all. So do you want me to start talking about it?" And so, I mean, I don't know what Ben Shapiro's thinking. I mean, the guy's not dumb. He's a lawyer and he's super smart. But how hard is it when somebody brings up Candace Owens to just say no comment?
Well, she writes here as a retweet of this, and I don't know if this is real, but I'm going to just assume this is real. Email that was sent to somebody from Jeremy Boring, who, if you watch our satire video, was Jackery snoring, my newborn. But anyway, he played the role of Jeremy Boring. Or it was maybe not from him, but that Jeremy Boring had organized this town hall and allegedly was discussing Candace's departure. And there were a lot of comments made about what happened there. But anyway, she says, "I was not aware of this. Maybe me and Joe Rogan should get together and talk about it while pretending we're not talking about it." So essentially saying, like, all right, I mean, I'm ready to go,
Yeah.
and it sounds like she may at some point, like you said, I mean, maybe it's because Ben has kind of been saying something without saying something. And I think it depends.
Yep.
Your read on this probably depends on who you like better. I mean, I've seen a lot of commentary about it, and it seems like people who tend to align with Candace like her response to all this better, and people who like Ben like what's going on from his point. So I don't know.
It's tribalism, and that's fine. The issue is not okay. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Candace Owens said, and some of it does. Whether you want to label it as anti-Semitic or having anti-Semitic overtones, that's for you to decide. I can't tell you how to feel. Okay, but I feel that a lot of the stuff she says, you should be able to criticize Israeli policy and Israeli politics without being labeled as anti-Semitic. But some of the stuff that she has said, for me, I think it's very borderline, if not a little, over the line, a little bit out of pocket. But I will also say this, Barry Weiss, she puts out this tweet about, "Oh, I can't believe they didn't fire her a long time ago." But wait a minute. Didn't Barry Weiss and the whole New York Times thing, when the New York Times let go of some people because they spoke their mind, and she had this big to-do about it? I mean, come on, man. Now, there's still, like you said, there is nothing that says that Candace Owens was fired. Everybody keeps saying Candace Owens was fired. There's nothing been put out that she was fired, or if they just parted ways. Obviously, they didn't part ways amicably, but they, agreed to disagree. This isn't going to work, and I'm out. Okay, well, bye. So nobody has said she's been fired. I don't understand why that narrative continues to get pushed, especially with Sagar and Crystal. They do it like almost daily. "Oh, Candace Owens is fired." No, we don't know that, and they don't know that.
Right. So. Yeah. I think it's really important to flag that, because a lot of people are jumping and pushing that. When I mean, if you've seen that confirmed somewhere, please let me know and let Bill know. But I have not seen that, so I think it's wrong to push that. I will say one kind of takeaway. This is really all I've got about the situation, and I've watched a lot of the videos that Candace did prior to this happening, including her interview with that one rabbi. And I just think
that was
a
weird.
lot of the people who loved Candace being really dogged about her opinions on race
Mhm.
are freaking out about her opinions on Israel. And I'm like, but you liked the way she goes after stuff on race because you agreed with her. And now
Mhm.
you're offended by her because you don't agree with her on this particular topic. And please, somebody tell me if I'm wrong about that. We have a new venture, everybody. We are starting the Allison Wine Club. It is still Allison Wine Promo if you want to go to AllisonWinePromo.com. However, here is my new announcement. Every 3 months, I believe it's every 3 months, you get 6 new bottles of wine. And we're all going to try them together. They have been selected by the guys at Bonner Wine specifically for the stuff I like. Sustainability, small farms, stuff you cannot get at a grocery store, and the kind of wine that's like your family member would be making in their basement or something, but it actually tastes good. It's not nasty. It's a great product, and they're now from, I think we've got one from France, a couple still from extremist altitude Argentina, Chile, Spain, I believe, or Italy. I don't know. I'm going back to look at my just to make sure that I've got the right information here. But they're all small batch wines, hand picked, world winemaking methods like hand harvested, free from chemicals like dye and oak flavoring and pesticides and all that stuff. And they're just good. And you can drink the same wine I'm drinking. And we're going to change them up every few months. So go to Allison Wine Promo. In addition, you're going to then be on the listserv. So I will be able to communicate with you if I get taken off the internet, which I'm still going to do on locals and everything. But if you're on the Wine Promo Club membership, then you'll get other stuff too, related to what we're drinking and what's happening behind the scenes. Okay. So consider going to AllisonWinePromo.com and join the new adventure. Bill, did you have any final wrap-up thoughts that you wanted to share before? Oh, P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida, 34432.